Welcome to a panel that is centered around the Association for Electronic Music and their recently launched Green Initiative group. More specifically, we are talking about Green Riders today. I'm Olivia, and I am the managing editor of MixMag Asia, where both myself and my team have from day one really been trying to make a big commitment to elevating the relationship between music and the planet. In today's panel, we will be discussing Green Riders, which is an interesting topic for a number of reasons. Firstly, for myself, being in Asia, I have been witness to so many inspiring people that are consistently looking towards the planet when coming up with new innovations to replace things like plastic cups at festivals. You know, they're making cassava, rice husk, sugarcane. This is all coming and being grown natively in Southeast Asia and being used as alternatives in clubs and festivals. So start to get artists involved who have voices and power and influence, and artists start asking for these things. It puts a little bit more pressure on promoters and event organizers to explore these alternatives. And that's why our goal today is to have a discussion about ways to speed up the process when it comes to making Green Riders an industry standard. This conversation is also timely because although riders haven't really been used for the last year, clubs are starting to reopen and festivals are announcing lineups. So we have this opportunity to do things a little better this time around. And it's like a clean slate. Let's do it, let's get the word out, and let's make this an industry standard. So today, to get this plastic-free party started, we are joined by a couple of experts who will be sharing their experiences, their feedback, and their strategies on using Green Riders. And really one of the beautiful things about these digital panels is that we can really connect with people all over the world that we might not otherwise be able to have these conversations with. So today we are speaking with DJ, producer, and eco-warrior Lauren Lane, who is actually just across the shortcut from me here in Bali. And also we are in conversation with Tristan Hunt from the Association for Electronic Music, who is all the way in London. The Association for Electronic Music has long been supporting the music industry in a variety of topics, especially social topics. And they have recently launched a Green Initiatives group. But Tristan, I think you can do a better job introducing yourself and what it is that you do with AFEM.
You did a great job, Olivia. Thanks very much. Thank you for having us on today. Yeah, my name is Tristan Hunt. I'm Regional Manager at the Association for Electronic Music. AFEM was started in 2013 as a global voice for the industry. So we represent all elements of its community and culture, everything from sort of tech and sort of like sustainability and mental health, right through the way to rights management and basically ensuring that the industry thrives globally. So one of the initiatives that we started back in 2019 was a Green Initiatives Working Group, which was really produced to sort of mobilize industry with a common voice on topics that are affecting us all. And you've touched on some of them already in terms of the sustainability side with regards to Green Riders specifically, which is one of our big projects at the moment. We started a carbon calculator back in 2017, which enabled the industry to put in their flight figures and sort of just get an understanding of what their impact was flying around the world, because it's something that we all have a responsibility for and are all related to producing CO2 when we fly, whether that's an artist like Lauren who's flying to an event to perform, or Olivia, perhaps industry folk like ourselves who are attending conferences and going to interviews and do business, right the way through to the fans that are flying in from around the world to attend these amazing festivals that we all enjoy so much. So we're very much about focusing on what you just touched on, which is this idea that right now we've got this amazing opportunity. It's a bit of a reset, right? So the pandemic has been really challenging for an awful lot of us and really has affected our industry in a big way, but it's also a wonderful opportunity for us all to step back, have a look at where things are, and hopefully change the status quo going forward to make our industry more sustainable in the future.
What have been some of the achievements or milestones that you guys have checked off your list since actually launching the Green Initiatives group?
Oh, good question. So I guess part of it has been bringing people together. We started, as you I think touched on, in 2019. It was relatively small group of people. Now it's over 60 industry, comprising some of the biggest names that we'd all be really familiar with across the industry. And we've been doing a lot of press and outreach work. So a lot of this is around education, because a big part of this is often people just don't really understand the impact of their travel or their attending festivals or clubs and things like that. And Bye Bye Plastic have done a fantastic job. They're also members of our Green Initiatives Working Group in making people aware about the use of single-use plastics and addressing those at a festival and club level. And we've also done a lot of work with yourselves, so like with MixMag, DJ Mag, BBC Radio 1 over here in the UK. We've done broadcasts and interviews with them talking about things like, is it still cool to pose with your private jet? You've got these amazing opportunities where one of the initiatives that we work with is with artists and looking at how artists actually, like Lauren, who are in this amazing position with these fantastic groups of followers who respect their art and their work and what they do, to have this incredible voice where they can actually say, look, here's the change that I'm making as a thought leader, as somebody that's respected within the industry. You can do it too. And so this wonderful trickle-down effect that we can all have, where actually with artists who have so much prominence, they're able to influence the fans that are then attending those clubs and festivals and hopefully adopt similar behaviours, like banning single-use plastics, like travelling to events in a more efficient way, like the way in which they consume becoming more sustainable. So that's a big part of the work we've been doing, is bringing people together and focusing on the education side.
So Lauren, speaking of using your voice, your position on this panel is as an artist who's actually been using a green writer for several years now, amongst several other things that you're doing to sort of use your voice to inspire a more sustainable way of thinking, which is amazing. So I guess a great place to start is to actually have you talk us through what a green writer actually is and how it works.
Well, DJ rider in general is what a DJ requests when they go to perform at a festival or a nightclub. So implementing a green rider is asking for the people providing this rider to not include anything with plastic, whether it's plastic cups, straws, water bottles, cutlery, plates, absolutely no plastic in the DJ booth. I think back when first started using it, it kind of got thrown by the wayside a little bit. Some people would kind of abide by it. Some people would like do the best they could, but you'd always see like the ubiquitous red cup sneaking around a lot. And then as like time has gone on, more and more people, if not everyone, really adheres to it and respects it. And if you do come across someone that hasn't taken the time to really read it, or they don't quite understand it, and you explain it, I feel like everyone has been very receptive to the requests on the rider. In the recent times, last year we weren't doing much touring, and I'm really happy that you guys pointed out this is a perfect time for a reset. So anybody who wasn't already participating as a DJ or an artist with their green rider, I would highly recommend switching your rider before you start touring again. And you can do so easily by contacting Bye Bye Plastic Life and your agent or your manager, or anybody who's doing your bookings can pass it along to the people. It's very easy, and it's an effective way to start making a little change that can ripple a long way.
So what kind of changes actually come with installing or employing a green rider? Like what are the differences from the rider you had before versus what you're using now? And how difficult is it to actually get clubs to listen to you? Is it often, or is it not at all?
I think now that there's more like options for Tetra Packs when it comes to water, and also I bring my own water bottle with me all the time now. And if they try to give me plastic bottles, I just send them back and I'm like, hey, no, please, no plastic. In the DJ booth, and having my own water bottle with me, really helps, because you get thirsty. So sometimes if you're thirsty and you have no water, then there would be no other option but to use a plastic water bottle. So I think it's really important for us to be mindful and proactive in creating our own solutions and not just expecting the clubs and the festivals to do it for us. which I would also bring like, you know, a metal straw, or I even had a metal cup that I would bring with me that doesn't break. It's not like you're carrying glass around. It's just like stainless steel. I can just put it in my backpack. Yeah. So anytime I came across somewhere that wasn't really reading or didn't really feel like it was their responsibility to abide by it, I would kind of have my own stuff to be prepared. And yeah, I think leading by example is a big part of it. I think my friends, when they see that type of action, they're like, oh, wow, like, okay, like it's really up to us. You can't really put the responsibility on anybody else, first and foremost. Yeah. I think when you're in like nice climates and like by the beach, you're lucky enough to just like say, hey, like, I love a coconut. It's like the most sustainable thing you could ask for in your rider. No actual waste really from it. So yeah, I think just being mindful of stuff like that, especially when in these like beach and like beautiful locations where people come and they think that somehow the trash is just magically going to go away. It's you know, really sad to see at the end of the party the heaps of garbage that are everywhere. It doesn't just magically disappear. So
yeah. Have you had any resistance or any kind of clubs not be able to adhere to any of your wishes whatsoever? Or does that just not happen? Any challenges?
I think it's happened more since like the few times I've played since COVID, because people are more wary of reusable stuff, considering like germs or whatever you want to call it. So places that might have had glass are like switching to plastic cups, which is horrible. But because it's like was the safer thing to do, whereas when people are worried about spreading germs and disease, I've actually seen recently it being like, well, we're not using any glass because COVID. Like, no, we can't go back because of this. We need to move forward. But yeah, previously, like years ago when I first started, it was more, it was harder, I think, for people to get it and just understand like, well, why is this person like requesting this? And now I think it's just become more of a topic, luckily, that's talked about more widely amongst people going to festivals. They want to see, you know, more green options. I don't think everyone going to a festival also wants to be contributing this much waste, but when they're there and they're only able to buy what is provided to them, they're not really given that much of an option. So right. I think all around people are looking for positive ways to improve the situation.
So Tristan, over to you. I mean, from an AFEM perspective, do you guys have any tools in place or strategies that can help artists ensure that this part of their contract isn't overlooked? As something that I hear quite often is people's reluctancy. You know, it sounds like a big deal. They don't want to, you know, have the club go through, you know, all of these hurdles just to help accommodate them. How do you guys coach people through that, coach artists?
It's a great question. So part of the work that we're focusing on at the moment, and we've touched on this idea of green riders. The idea of green riders has been around probably for several years now. And it's something that is being more widely adopted across the industry, not just electronic music, but across other genres as well. We're really championing that and sort of trying to take it further forward. We're in the position at the moment where we are producing with Camille from Bye Bye Plastic, really leading on this initiative to produce an open source green rider that can be adopted by any artist management agency anywhere around the world. So as Lauren was touching on, the artist agent or manager would normally send the rider ahead of the artist performing at that festival or club night, and that would have a certain set of requirements on it, maybe everything from sort of making sure there's no single-use plastics in the DJ booth, right the way through to the technical side of things. So we are talking to companies like Ridline, who are putting together technical green riders. So this is where you can start to really sort of like have a look at the power usage that goes into festivals. So, you know, making sure that you're not using traditional sort of like par cans, which are like some old school lighting, versus LEDs, which are much more efficient. There's a whole range of different sort of other aspects to this, which include like the actual travel to and from the hotel. So if an artist goes to a hotel to go and perform at a festival, they'll be given accommodation, and making sure that that accommodation is sustainable, making sure that the vehicle that's taking them on and off site is sustainable. And then to another point that Lauren touched on, DJs leading by example, which is one of our subgroups. We've got several different subgroups that work at AFEM. And again, these are all volunteers within our membership that give up the time to do this. But really looking at how sort of artists can use their voice to say, hey, look, I'm taking a bottle, a reusable bottle to the event. I'm using a metal cup. I'm doing all of these things, and they look like quite small things, and they are quite small things. But when you start to scale that, right? So when it's not just the artist doing it, but it's everyone backstage, it's all of the team that's doing it, and then it's all of the fans that are going there. Lots of these festivals are, you know, we're talking 50, 100,000 people, and you multiply that out across the year with all of the club nights that go with that. If everyone shifts their behavior, well, suddenly the consumer demand is making sure that festivals and clubs don't have any single-use plastics. They're making sure that they're using the most efficient forms of power. They're making sure that they're using renewables in actually powering the event that is happening. And they're making sure that all of the transport to and from that event is as sustainable as it possibly can be. So it's a sort of like multi-pronged attack, if you like, in terms of we're coming at from all these different angles. Yes, sure, senior leading industry members can make a big difference, and artists can certainly lead the change. And then it's the fans that look to that and hopefully go, hey, I can do that too, and I can be a part of making something good happen.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan, that's something that you and I spoke about before. I was really interested in trying to find ways to make this kind of conversation be less B2B, but also kind of reach music fans. I mean, Lauren, what's your advice for you know, speaking or engaging a music-oriented audience beyond just managers and agents and using your voice to reach them?
I think just shedding light on the impact of what the plastic is doing to the environment. We recently recorded a stream for Earth Day, Abracadabra Fest, here in Bali with Sungai Watch, who is making barriers in rivers to help stop the plastic from going into the ocean. And they're like really going to the root of the problem to stop it from getting into the ocean. I think like we really need to go to the root of the problem and like show people this. And the more we can shed light on it by like doing a live stream or, you know, just even posting on our social media, hey, look, like this is what's happening. And like all the plastic that goes from like the parties or the festivals, this is contributing to that. So I think just like making people aware of it first, and then like offering like cool solutions, like, you know, whether it's giving away some merch that has to do with sustainability, like metal cups, like instead of giving away things that were just contributing to the problem of waste, give things that could be part of the solution. You know, like whether it's a reusable water bottle or a reusable tote bag made from sustainable products. I think that's a kind of a cool thing that artists can do, and I'm looking into doing as well. And like I said, just even on this, like, you know, having your water bottle, it's really healthy to drink water. It reminds you to have it with you. Have this little cool like strap that comes in, and you know, just supporting brands, you know, that are making things like this, and you know, showing on your own social media page or just carrying it around with you. So people are like, oh, hey, where did you get that? Like, that looks like something that comes in handy if you're at a festival. You know, you don't have to like walk around like trying to buy a plastic bottle of water. And I think with that being said, clubs and festivals need to like let people bring these types of things into the festival. You know, a lot of times they're restricted because they don't want people bringing in like alcohol, or, you know, maybe if they can come with an empty vessel, so they know it's nothing harmful or illegal or whatever, they can offer water filling stations there, so people can, you know, bring their own vessel. Or if they don't have one, they can buy one there that becomes one they reuse. I've been festivals that do use metal cups or glass, and then when you return it, you get $1 back. So it's an incentive for the reuse of all the cups at the festival.
Yeah. So Tristan, I
if I
want
can
to
just jump,
backtrack.
if I
Oh,
can just
go ahead.
jump in on Lauren's point there, that I think we've seen that really happen. Like I went to Arcadia, which is the big giant techno fire breathing spider here in London, one of the last gigs I went to before lockdown happened. But the whole event was no single-use plastics. You could get water, you could get free water from behind the bars, and you could get cups which you paid, I think it was £2. So maybe that's like, I don't know, about sort of $4 these days in US, something like that. And you get your reusable cup, and you can hold on to that all day. You reuse it, and you can get water, whatever the drink was that you wanted, and then you take it back and you get a refund at the end of the day. And those cups are then recycled for the next event. This is one of the big shifts that we're seeing. So again, when we talk about, Lauren's got her bottle that she's taking with her, and we do that as industry as well. Again, these might seem like small things, but then the festivals are starting to follow. And then consumer demand is saying, we don't want single-use plastics. We want to be able to get our reusable cup, and we get our money back at the end of the day. So it's a win for the consumer, and it's a win for the festival, and it's a massive win for the environment.
I mean,
Yes.
Speaking about finances, do you get a lot of festivals that are concerned about the costs associated from making these kinds of sustainable changes?
There are costs
Tristan?
associated to it, and I think some are concerned that actually there are going to be costs that are prohibitive to making these things happen, but then actually it's a bit of a misnomer, because actually you're saving money. You're not spending money on things which just disappear, like plastic bottles. You get them and they go, and that's it. There is no money coming back in. Recyclable cups, once you've bought them, they stay on site. They get given back. People are collecting these cups up. You see it at the end of the festivals, which is brilliant, because it's like shrewd ravers at the end are like going round. They've grabbed themselves 10 cups that people have left around, which made themselves £20. It's like $40. Great. You've come out, you've profited at the end of the festival. So they're cleaning up the festival. So that's just a little fun thing. But if we step back a few years, big Dutch promoters like ID&T, they went on the front foot several years ago now, where they said, actually, do you know what, we're going to ban water bottle supplies, and we're going to move over to providing water stations all around their festival site. They're responsible for massive events like Mysteryland, and so you're talking about 1,000 capacity, 100,000 capacity events. And one of the big concerns internally there was, this is going to cost us money. Should we be doing this? So from a commercial point of view, that was a question that they had. They then went ahead and did it. They ran them out. They thought, no, this is good. This is going to be okay from a financial point of view, because obviously festivals have to make money. They're a business, and it's worked out better, because now actually they're even more profitable. And we've seen this not just with ID&T, but festivals and clubs worldwide, because actually people are getting their water. The water's free, right? So you've got your recyclable cup, you get your water, brilliant. You've got more money to go and maybe spend on a couple of beers. It's nice weather, and you can go and spend some money on some merchandise or some other things or some food or whatever it might be. So actually consumer spend goes up. So rather than it being negatively impactful for the festival, it's actually even more profitable to become more sustainable.
Yeah. So just going back specific. Go on.
Sorry, I feel like a tiny delay. I remember when, everyone was saying like, oh, like no more plastic straws. And then people were like, oh, well, it's going to cost more money to get these other straws. And then it kind of was like brought to the attention that no, it doesn't have, that's not even true. It can cost less or the same. Or there's other ways, like if it did cost money, maybe like there would be an advertiser that would want their advertisement on the straw, the sustainable straw, that would cover the cost, whatever was the festival was losing. There's just like always ways around it, I think. Like even if the festival was going to lose money by implementing one of these sustainable methods, like that's a way. Like I'm sure there'd be an advertiser that would pay the difference of whatever they were using to get their like little advertisement or logo on the straw. It's just an idea.
And that's a really key point. And so this is another aspect to the commercial side of it, is that large brand sponsors are now coming in. They want to be associated with this. So for example, La Fiera Club in Santiago, Chile, who is a recently member of AFEM, they became the world's first fully sustainable club back in 2019, which was phenomenal. They have solar panels across their roof, and they are able to generate all of the power that they need to run as a venue. And then they can actually credit that back to the grid. So when the club's not running, it credits that electricity that it's making back to the grid, and that money can then be used at another time when the club's open to power the venue. Budweiser have got fully behind that. They've got like a sort of five-year agreement with the club to support them in doing that, because Budweiser said, we have an agreement, I think ratified at like UN, come out and signed a declaration saying that we will be, I think it's by 2025, we'll have zero carbon footprint. So as part of our work to support entertainment, Budweiser said, right, we're going to support La Fiera, which is, you know, if people are watching this, amazing 300 capacity club running a kick-ass Function 1 sound system down in Santiago, Chile. You know, Nick Warren and a whole range of amazing people playing there. And it was Damien Lazarus who actually flicked the switch on the venue when it went renewable. And they had this amazing party that was all powered, sound, lights, bar, everything by renewable power. So we have venues now which are fully sustainable with big brands, to Lauren's point, that are coming behind these venues and wanting to put their name to it and putting money into our industry. So actually, again, not only is this a wonderful thing for us to be doing for the environment, and it's something we can all do and engage in, but it's also something that big brands want to come and support our industry with. So the financial model also supports it, and that makes it even more viable for the future.
So what can we be doing to continue pushing this towards being an industry standard, and how close are we to that goal, or what's left to do?
Well, I heard there's 1,500 DJs that have implemented the Green Rider, which is a lot of DJs. There's still many more that I think everyone should implement it. There's no reason not to. And I think that gets clubs thinking like, okay, well, if they're asking for it, maybe our patrons want this as well. That's just like what we can do as DJs. As far as in the next year or two coming up, I think it's really just up to us to like say, when we walk in somewhere and they're not following what we asked for, stick to our guns and be like, okay, like, I'm not going to have a drink then. Like, I'm not going to use this plastic cup. I'm not going to take a straw or a plastic water bottle, and come prepared if we need to do that for whatever we need. Like maybe don't have a drink or have your own cup, you know?
Yeah. Tristan,
Definitely.
You guys have been doing a little bit of data collection. Is that right?
It is, and I just sort of I guess further touch on your point about how we can open this up to the industry. So the Green Rider initiative we're working on at the moment, which will be this open source document, and by that I mean when we finish producing this, it will be freely available to any artist management or agent that can then adopt this for their own. So it's a free resource, but it's also, we're in the, as you touched on earlier, we're in the data collection stage at the moment. So we're going through lots of different artist contracts, artist riders from the board. We're working with some of the biggest industry players and agents to see what they're already using with their artists and their riders. And then the idea is to have something that becomes a standardized document, something that the industry agrees on, which is best practice, and that then can be adopted sort of more broadly worldwide. Now, the amount to which people adopt that might differ. Different people have different capacities and abilities and those sorts of things, but it will set out best practice. It's like, well, if you conform to all of these different things, you are going to have the least footprint, least carbon footprint, plastic footprint on that particular event. If you do all of these things, well, actually you're helping to, you know, become sort of carbon positive or neutral, depending on which terminology you use, to actually take carbon out of the atmosphere to really have an impact on this. And we don't actually have anything like that at the moment. There's lots of brilliant initiatives like Bye Bye Plastic's own Green Rider. Claire O'Neill, who's we're very proud to have her as the chair of the AFEM working group on green initiatives. She runs an event called a Greener Festival. So they do environmental sustainability assessment, everything from Glastonbury through to digital in Amsterdam, and they've produced riders as well with sort of like big agents in the past. But we're looking to consolidate that, bring that all together, and make it freely available.
So Lauren, since you have Tristan here listening to you, as an artist, is there anything that could be implemented to make your life as an artist a little bit easier?
I think exactly what he's talking about, like just an industry standard where the people that are booking us are almost just like ready for it. Like they've seen it 100 times already. So they're just like, okay, like they're ready. That's probably the easiest for everyone because everyone has different, I guess, like spirits or coconut water or little things they like to have. But as far as, the cups and the water and all of that, having a standard and even like getting like a company on board, like we spoke about before, that could maybe put some money behind it to, entice more people in one way or another to get on board with it, whether it's like providing the whatever type of water is going to be given, or like I said, like putting their advertising on like a metal cup or a straw. I think like getting some big companies to get on board with it, so the festival and club owners see that like it's a possibility that they'll like kind of sponsor this type of behavior.
Yeah. What about empowering managers or tour managers? Do you guys, as AFEM, do you have any messaging to help empower these kinds of peoples and venues in order to adopt these kind of sustainable policies?
So that will really be with the Green Riders. So all of the information that they need will be contained within there. We do a lot of outreach work at conferences around the world. So we speak regularly at things like the Amsterdam ADE, the International Music Summit in Ibiza, Brighton Music Conference, AVA Festival of Printworks. So we would do a lot of panels around these topics with industry. So our focus, as you touched on at the beginning of our session, is business to business. We're really focused on the business side of the industry. But obviously that's the trickle-down effect, that is all of the management, the agents, all of the different festivals and people that are involved in sort of putting everything together. So we're at the stage of influencing them. And again, this idea of sort of, DJs leading by example, artists leading by example, industry leading by example. If we can set standards that fans can follow, that massively scales and hugely amplifies all of the work that we're talking about today. And again, brands, as we know, are driven by consumer demand. The more and more consumers are pushing for this, the more they're asking for their club or their festival or their artist, saying, hey, look, what are you doing? You've maybe flown to a location and then you've flown within that location when you could have taken a train. There could have been an alternative form of transport. And the artists that are doing that increasingly, it's wonderful because you're like then seeing the fans going, hey, yeah, we got like this many of us in a single car to go there safely. Or we've taken bicycles. Like if you go to Holland, you go to the big festivals there and you can barely get into the festival for bicycles. Everyone cycled to the event. So these are just some interesting little shifts that we start to see where actually it's the fans that are doing it because they see that the artists are doing it, because they see that the events are doing it. So it's something that we can all help each other sort of like to increase essentially.
Okay. Just before we close out, I wanted to just invite you both to speak to the audience. It is Earth Day, and it's a great opportunity to get a motivational and inspirational message across. If you'd like to sign off with something charming. Lauren?
Happy Earth Day, everyone. I hope you take some time today to reflect on what you can do to make positive changes. And one of my favorite quotes is, be the change you want to see. So hope you all can do that.
Tristan, over to you.
It's a lovely quote. I'm going to struggle to top that. Happy Earth Day, everyone. Remember that this is an opportunity to see what you're doing. Do be the change. Have a look at the effect that you can have, and let's all do this together. This is something that we're all an active part of, and if we all make those small changes, all those small changes will add up to a bigger change for a more sustainable future.
As we all head back to the dance floor, there has never been a better time to party with a purpose. So let's all think about what we're doing the next time that we go out and do things a little bit more consciously. Happy Earth Day, and thank you so much.